Oh, who was last through the
It
door?
was me. I
Yay!
so wanted to be the first one to pray in our new room.
Please, Carol.
Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the blessing of this day. We thank you for our time together. We thank you for the upcoming journey of moving through this new book for us to study. We ask that you be with each and every one of us. Bless us. We give great thanks for Mary Elizabeth and all that she does to help us learn more about your word. Be with us today. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Yeah. So everybody gets a participation present, and those at home, I will mail this to you, but you need to send me your mailing address. Because I can't necessarily get it through the church's program. So this is nothing fancy. It's a little bookmark. It's all the books of the Bible. If you already have it from me,
Thank you.
say so, and I have an alternative. You already,
still have it.
all right, would you like great is the Lord or walk by faith, not by sight? There we go. Do you have this?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Thank you.
so much of life is just showing up,
you.
right?
Thank you.
There you go. John, that's for you. Bill, do you want to, we have lots of bookmarks. Yeah, you have one.
And then you can tick them off as.
Exactly,
Study them.
exactly. You read my mind, Pauline. Well,
Mary
here we
Elizabeth,
go.
We're
Yes,
gonna
ma'am.
see Tricia later to get some of the stuff from her, so if you could just, whoops,
Yeah.
mine to her.
If I could what?
Give me Charlene's bookmark because I want to see her.
Oh, okay. And I'm gonna give
Sorry,
you,
would have used that time to decide to bark too.
okay, and I'm gonna give you a second one too, since,
Great.
so one for you and one for Rick.
All right.
Groovy. And Debbie and Rachel and Helena, I will mail you yours.
Thank you.
Okay. Revelation.
Charlene too.
I hope everybody's gotten, thank you, Carol, gotten the guidebook. You can order it from Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Thrift Books probably has some used.
Books.
Books doesn't have it.
Who doesn't have it?
Books.
Really? So nobody wants to get rid of their used copy. That's always a good sign.
I
Um,
found mine on Abe Books.
Okay, cool. It's really well done. And I will not be just spewing back at you what this guy says. We will be doing other things. You won't feel left out. You won't feel behind, I don't think, if you don't read this, but this is really, really helpful. So I commend it to you highly. Anything in this series, Interpretation Bible Studies series, is very reliable. The other thing on your housekeeping handout that I recommend, the Bible Project's 1/2 hour graphic illustration of Revelation. It's on our bulletin board, the finished product. What they do, can y'all still see me if I walk over here? Yeah, you can. We have a bulletin board again. Yay. Is they actually draw it out and talk about it as they draw and take you through the first 11 chapters and then also through the last 11 chapters. It's really well done. I commend it to you highly.
And it's also like just about 12 minutes. Each one is
Yeah.
12 minutes long.
Yeah,
So
the
it's
whole-
not a long.
Yeah, the whole thing will take you half an hour. Yeah. And it just walks you through the book. Great interpretation, really, really helpful. If you really want to get nerdy about this, there is a great courses study. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that company, the teaching company. And it's called Apocalypse, Controversy and Meaning in Western History. It's taught by Professor Craig Koester. It's very good. I'm not going to say that his interpretation is the only interpretation, but it's It's outstandingly done. You'll get both interpretation of the book and the history of how it's been interpreted through the last 2,000 years. And one of the reasons that I commend that to you, and we will talk about this every week, is I know how I was raised, that there is one way to read the book of Revelation, quote, literally, unquote. And it's very common in this country, that there's only one way to understand this book. And nothing could be further from the truth. This book has been interpreted in vastly different ways over the last 2,000 years as a description of things that have already happened, as a description of things that will happen, as a cyclic description, not a chronological description. It has been, it was for a long time and continues to be in some traditions interpreted as simply spiritual warfare within a single person's soul. No timeline, no historic ties at all, simply what goes on in the human heart as we wrestle with sin. So there's a variety of ways that this book has been read. And what we're going to do today, my sole goal, is to shake you loose of however you have historically understood, misunderstood, or feared this book. Okay? So you've got your handout that I sent out late last night because I didn't want any gunners. You know who you are, Kathy. To do it in advance. So
Knew who you were talking about.
And I'll have to admit, I did go ahead and copy it, even though you.
So I want you to take out your handout for today. And you see that you've got a little chart there with 4 questions on it. And you're going to think about and write down, this is just for you. Now, what do you think the book of Revelation is about? Just what do you think it's about? There's no right or wrong answer. Just what do you think it's about? What emotions do you feel when you think about the book of Revelation? What visual images come to mind when you think about it?
There's not enough space.
I know. Feel free to use the back. And then what top 1 or 2 questions do you have about this book? So you're just doing the now row. And at the end, we're going to go back and revisit these questions and let you say what you think then. And it is okay right now for the answer to be, I have no idea. That is okay. I feel confused. That is okay. So just take a few minutes and do that. Anybody needs a pen, holler.
You know,
There's been a lot of note passing going on in here today.
Now I'm gonna take that away and
Just
just
notice-
class, yeah.
A lot of note. I don't mean to be a tattletale, but
Do you like me?
check yes or no.
It is to help our edification and making sure we know who everybody is and such as that.
But do write your thoughts down so that when we come back at the end of this study, you can compare and see what you have perhaps changed your thinking on.
One word answers are good too.
They're totally fine. Totally fine. Yeah, you're not being graded on your grammar or your composition or,
Writes an essay.
yeah.
Space is a big enough word. I can write very small.
You would.
Neat.
Of course.
It's great. I have excellent handwriting and writing. I don't need Mr.
And when she writes small, you can still read it.
Thank you.
All right, 2-minute warning. Actually, 1-minute warning.
In the Pender book, I really like that quote that he did, the little story he made up with a butler named Rhett and
Yes.
Scarlet and Toto, and
Yes,
that was
Yes.
that was a really good way of kind of showing us how it can be misrepresented or whatever.
right. And techniques that the author of the book is using. And we will talk about that. In fact, you're gonna get a handout for next week that's all of the Hebrew Bible allusions in the book of Revelation. And it is 7 pages long, double column, small space.
Ooh,
That's
So,
the 404? No, the 500?
yeah, yes,
400.
yes.
Okay.
All right. So fold that up, stick that in your, well, afterwards, read it for today. You're gonna want to save that in your Bible. And I'm going to share my screen. And we're gonna think together about how not to think about the book and how to think about the book. Okay, let me get this going. Share screen. Where's my share screen? Share screen options. No. Come on.
just remember, to err is human and to really foul up takes a computer.
Okay, can y'all see the beginnings of a PowerPoint?
Yes.
Groovy. All righty. We're gonna think about how not to think about the book of Revelation. Okay,
Just what I wrote.
okay. Not what the book of Revelation is about. A lot of us, particularly in the South, in the Bible Belt, were raised that this is about the end of the world. And we
Yep.
hear the word apocalypse, right? And we think what?
Yeah.
Right, right, the mushroom
Fire.
cloud, right?
Scary stuff.
Exactly. It's the end of the world, right? God, this loving God who created the world because he loved it and wanted to spend time with it. In the end, he's just gonna nuke it. Okay,
Yeah, and we all go to heaven.
so. Well, and that's how some people read it, but that's not how the majority of people read it, right? That a lot of it is about people going to hell,
Yes,
right? So.
every Sunday night.
Yeah, right. Fire and brimstone. You remember this film about Vietnam, right? Remember Robert Duvall, I love the smell of napalm in the morning, right? It's based on Joseph Conrad's novella, The Heart of Darkness. And it's about destruction just taking over. Again, it really captures how we tend to think about that word apocalypse. And the word actually means revealing, right?
Yeah.
And if you ever forget, right, Calypso was the name of Jacques Cousteau's boat.
Okay.
And that referred to the mist that the boat would kick up. So apocalypse is upon the veil, is lifting the veil. That is a microchip. Have you heard this? Right? Right? That's the mark of the beast, right? Everybody's going to have a chip in them, and that's the mark of the beast. In 1964, when my dad opened my first savings account over at the Fulton Federal at the corner of St. Charles and North Highland, he about had a duck that he had to get a social security number for me to open that bank account.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There were plenty of people who said that's the mark of the beast.
My parents did the same, not the Mark of the Beast part, but they also opened an account for us, same bank.
Yeah,
You had
Yeah.
to send orders and you went in with your $5?
Yes.
Did you do that?
yes, absolutely.
That guy's scary.
Yeah, and this is actually from a website that talks about these kinds of chips as the mark of the beast. If you really want to see how pervasive it is, Google mark of the beast, Google end times. It's pervasive.
You
you
might
remember
not want to Google. You'll get on their list and they'll start sending you things.
Yeah, don't post anything, yeah.
Google
Yeah.
scary stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you-
so remember the movie Armageddon?
Yeah.
With Bruce Willis and I forget who all was in that, about a meteor that was gonna hit the earth and they have to, the ragtag bunch of miners go up in the space shuttle to blow up the.
That was July 4th.
No, that's Independence Day
Oh.
you're thinking of with Will Smith where aliens come and yeah, and he fusses at the alien. I was supposed to be eating barbecue. No, I'm dragging your alien through the desert. Very fun movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Welcome to Earth.
yeah, a meteor striking the earth and destroying it. There's the movie,
Armageddon.
right? Armageddon. Who's that?
Is that Ben Affleck?
Yeah, Ben Affleck, and I forget what her name is.
Liv Tyler.
That's right. That's right. And of course, they turn it ultimately into a romance story, right?
Mhm.
Because it's Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
This got a lot of attention when it happened, when Saddam Hussein realized he was about to lose the first Gulf War. He set the oil fields of Iraq on fire. And pictures like this really captured attention worldwide among apocalyptic thinkers that this is the end of the world. This is the smoke and fire that's described in the book of Revelation.
I don't see the oil fields.
That's because they're on fire.
Well, the
You-
main, I mean, in the pictures on the
You can't-
screen,
You can't see it because of the fire. You can't see the rigs anymore. All they did was uncap the oil, uncap the rig, the drills.
No,
And set
that's not,
fire.
that's not it, Mary Elizabeth. You
Oh,
need
really?
to select down the slideshow presentation. We don't see anything.
we just see the first, how not to think about Revelation. and
Oh,
then
I'm so
some-
sorry. Hold
Some
on.
small, we go to the chip on the left side, but that's the last picture.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Hold on a second. Let me. What do you see now?
Same,
Same.
What do you see now?
same.
Same.
Ah,
Well-
Jesus will come back.
Aha, okay.
That's the good one.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, let me toggle y'all through.
Oh, now I saw the,
Towers.
Now you see them?
Still have
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Okay,
picture.
so there's the Apocalypse Now movie poster. Right? Oh, and you see that, I should mention this, you see the helicopters?
Mhm.
They're really tiny. People said, there are a lot of people who said that helicopters were the locusts in, later on in the book. That those were the evil, horrible locusts. And there's the microchip. Mark of the Beast. Meteor wiping out the planet. Armageddon movie poster. Right, Armageddon is going to be a battle that is in Israel, in the Har Megiddon Valley. There is a real place, the Valley of Megiddo, right? And in World War I, there were battles there. People thought this is it. This is Armageddon. World War II, people thought this is going to be it. So much of the Middle Eastern conflict, people have keep saying, oh, this is it. This is the end times. In 48, when Israel was established and took control of part of the Temple Mount, there were people saying, see, the temple is being rebuilt. This is it. We're living in the end times. The world is about to come to an end during our time, and we can read those signs. Here's the oil fields on fire. So that's a groovy picture, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Got those poor camels.
oh, hopefully.
What do you see here?
The towers.
The light, the source of light.
And what does the ground look like?
Drought.
Hard.
Dead. There is not a living thing to be seen. So
Desert.
what's the association? Jesus will come back. Does that look like a good thing or a bad thing to you?
Everybody's gone.
Yeah,
Pretty bad.
yeah. And everything is dead. Drought has cracked up the soil. Yeah, it almost makes you wonder, is that the light from a nuclear blast back behind there?
Mm,
Right? That's terrible looking.
no. That's God.
Well, but look at the drought. Look at the ground. See how
That's-
that's the drought. That's drought. The intention behind this picture is to scare people into believing in Jesus. Jesus will come back and this is what's going to happen. You
This
better
is
hope.
if you don't
Right,
accept Jesus.
right.
Ah,
And usually associated with some idea that you want to be in the rapture. You want to be
yeah.
taken away from earth before this happens, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
And I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it out, that there was no idea of the rapture until the 1800s.
Really?
I
Ooh,
see that picture with the ground all chopped up like that and the sun is shining and that's Jesus coming back to fix it.
That's a good interpretation. The
optimistic.
website that this comes from, that's not what they mean.
I didn't think it probably was.
Right, yeah, but
That's
but
not what it
yours is a
was.
much better, much more biblical interpretation, yeah. Yeah. It is not, the book of Revelation is not a calendar with blank spaces that we need to fill in. Okay, when is this going to happen? When did that happen? When did this happen? It is not a chronology. And as we actually read the book, you will see there is no way to read it as a chronology. When we get to chapter 7, the sun and the earth will be destroyed. But there's still 15 more chapters to go. It cannot be a chronology. So try to move away from that thinking. Try to move away from, well, when does this happen? And when does that happen? That's not what this book is about. Remember this?
Yes.
New York Times bestseller. What was it, 1978?
Okay.
Hal Lindsey, he made millions on this book, predicting that he could, what he would do, and this is what almost all of folks who use Revelation to create a timeline, they'll pull some verses from First Thessalonians, they'll pull some verses from Daniel, they'll pull some verses from Ezekiel, they'll pull some verses from Revelation, they'll pull them completely out of their context, string them together and say, see, this is happening, and now this is happening, and see, that's happening, and try to argue that that's a literal reading, when what it is cherry picking. Does that make sense?
One of my relatives, when they were angry with their spouse, used to say, and Jesus went out and hanged himself. Therefore, go and do likewise.
Right.
And it just when she was totally miffed at her better half.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and that's the great example. Judas went out and hung himself, go thou and do likewise. So it's about what Judas did, and it's about selling all your goods and giving them to the poor. So you just pull these verses completely out of context and stick them together as though that has any meaning. Remember that, I don't remember what day he said, I'm just going to say March 28th, 1978, and that came and went. So do you remember what he did?
he changed. the name.
Calculate.
He recalculated, changed the date, and did a second edition that sold almost as well as the first. This stuff sells. And sells and sells.
And scares little kids.
Exactly. So 1988, 2022, May 22nd, 2011, ready or not, Jesus is coming. And it is always from this sort of threatening perspective.
Even the Jesus, the actor playing Jesus does not look like loving kindness.
The actor playing.
Yeah, see up there, Jesus returns.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's like, I'm going to get you.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Scared to death,
yeah,
couldn't sleep.
yeah.
Mondays were never good days to go to school because I hadn't slept the night before.
Oh, bless you.
Oh,
Now, lest we think that only stupid people fall prey to this. That is Sir Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton believed that his single most important writing ever was his commentary on the book of Revelation. And it was a numerological interpretation. He believed firmly that God had written that book through John with all of those numbers in it, waiting for someone smart enough to come along and interpret it. Bless his heart.
And he was a great man.
He was a brilliant man. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Lest we think that only stupid people fall prey to this. We do the same thing. We are vulnerable to the same thinking.
Yeah.
This is a Pew report. The Pew Foundation, right? So they polled Christians in America about whether Jesus was going to come back. Good morning.
Morning, sorry, I'm just here with the AV team.
Wonderful, wonderful, thank you.
I'm Big Norby.
Yeah, we will be grateful for your presence. So he said 27% of the people polled said that Jesus was definitely going to return within 40 years. 20% that he probably would return, 10% definitely not coming back. They knew. 28 probably not coming back in the next 40 years, and 14% did not know. They obviously did not ask me because I would have looked at them and said, really? Notice that this was done in April of 2010. So we've got 26 years to find out whether these folks are right or not. But notice this notion of definitely, probably, like they have some sense of when this is going to happen. Why Christ has already come back. There was a tremendous movement in the 1800s that Jesus was going to come back. There were actually quite a lot of movements in the 1800s that Jesus was going to come back. Many of them started in upstate New York. Don't ask me why. Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Seventh-day Adventists, they all emerged from that upstate New York area. And there were people really and truly waiting for this date that Jesus was going to come back. And he didn't. And there were two possible responses. One was to go, oh, well, guess we were wrong. And the other was to say, Jesus came back spiritually, but most of the world didn't notice it. The Seventh-day Adventists and the Jehovah's Witnesses have their roots in that movement. But there are still people walking around who say that Jesus has already come back. And of course, all of these have underlying them this completely misguided question that the big question is, when will Jesus come back? That's what the book of Revelation is about. When will Jesus come back? Oops, sorry. There are other things that people dwell on in the book of Revelation. This number 666, who is it? And this came off of a website about this online game, Hearts of Iron 4. And one commentator wrote, just so happens that when I reach 666 hours, oh my gosh, this person played this game for 666 hours. In this game, a picture of Mussolini's new Roman Empire shows up. Coincidence? I think not. Mussolini is one of the leading contenders of people in the 20th century that folks have said that he was the mark of the beast, because you could take the phrase Viva il Duce and turn that into Roman numerals and add it up in just the right way and get 666. We will, when we get to that lesson, I'll have a list for you of all, probably not exhaustive. There are probably more than 666 people that have been suggested as being the 666. Is the Pope the beast in the book of Revelation? Yes, people do still ask that. And then, of course, there's this incredibly popular book and movie series, the Left Behind series, where everybody's raptured out. All the Christians are raptured out of the world. And then this terrible time of tribulation. Thank you. Terrible time of tribulation comes, and that's what the series is about. Mind you, Kevin Sorbo, by all accounts, a marvelous Christian man. Neil McDonough, the very sinister looking short-haired blonde man underneath him, excellent actor. Corbin Burnson, excellent actor, right? But then at the bottom, it says, based on a true story that hasn't happened yet. Oh my. Oh my.
That was some incredible marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. And notice how much it kind of looks like the mushroom cloud at the beginning. You know, you've got bright light, yeah. Who is the Antichrist? Yes, absolutely every single person here has been suggested to be the Antichrist, including your cell phone. Oprah Winfrey. Wow, okay.
I will have to say, when we were watching and saw that former President Trump was shot and he survived, I did think about that for a little while.
And we're all prey to those kinds of ways of thinking,
I'll pray and believe.
to that kind of thinking. Because I know, I know as a child, it was really ingrained in me to think about the Middle East crisis in these terms, to think about world events in these terms.
Who was the man, the previous, to the right of Donald Trump?
I have no idea, a preacher online,
Oh,
just I got it for the, who will be the Antichrist? Like, we're gonna figure that out and know who that is, right? Yeah. And these are just examples. As I mentioned, upper right, the World War I, a lot of World War I and World War II happened in the Middle East, and there was a lot of speculation. This is Armageddon. Tomorrow's World, the Middle East in prophecy is available on Amazon. Armageddon, Oil and the Middle East Crisis was very popular in the 70s. It was a bestseller. Armageddon in the Middle East it lists almost the same name, right? All these different authors. And the map is what to expect when Armageddon happens. There, you can actually go online and find maps of where the battles will take place, that sort of thing. And then, right, top center, conflict erupts between Hamas and Israel. That's a recent screen capture. People are thinking this way. They are concerned. Are we headed into Armageddon? Whether we're headed into World War III or not is a separate question, but are we headed into Armageddon? People are worried about this. And this is what it creates. This strange mishmash of being stuck, confused, thinking certainly this is the way it is, but maybe, but no, I don't know. And it's a very stuck place to be. So what we want to do is completely change gears and ask ourselves how to think about the book of Revelation. Holy cow. Yes. You remember this cartoon? You're too young.
Johnny Quest, yes.
Johnny Quest. It was on every Saturday morning. I had to see it. Johnny Quest. John with a revelation. I'm convinced that's where the name comes from. Every week, Johnny Quest and his dad, who was a scientist, and his little dog, and his friend from India, Raji, and their sidekick, whose name I can't remember, the guy with the white hair, they'd have an adventure.
Banyan.
What was it?
Race Banyan.
Thank you. Race. What a great name. And they would have an adventure, right? They had a plane. They'd fly around in a plane. There would be monsters. There would be exotic people, gargoyles and pterodons. And his little dog Bandit was always there with him, having these adventures. Yes, I really do mean for you to think of the book of Revelation as an animated cartoon series. This is a great splash page from a graphic novel called The Story of the Saga of the Swamp Thing, as in the 50s horror movie. Look at that. That is beautiful art. It's creepy. If John the Seer could have done a graphic novel, this is what he would have done. Monsters rising up, exulting in their rising. This is from a graphic novel about the Justice League. Heroes flying around, monsters flying around, bedlam. Thor.
Walter Simonson.
Yeah, Thor, little tiny Thor fighting off this serpent dragon. It's called a splash page. Splash Gordon. Thor, right? And Thor standing over his enemies. And see, Thor kind of looks like maybe he lost his right eye, reminiscent of his father's loss of an eye. He's haggard, right? You got to have a good villain, right? One of the great villains ever in graphic novels, the Joker. And doesn't he just, I mean, you look at him and well, clearly that's the villain. We're going to have villains and they're going to look like villains. We're going to have heroes that look like heroes. There's going to be a love interest. The church, right, is Jesus' love interest. And we're going to have a clash of titans, right, between Kal-El and Zod there, General Zod in the original, in the Superman 2, right? Interestingly, I want to mention something about that film. Christopher Reeve and Terrence Stamp, who played Zod, met deliberately to confer before they started shooting that film. And they agreed between themselves that they had to play their roles completely straight. There could be no humor from either of them, or the movie would descend into camp.
Well, the movie would what?
Descend into camp, being campy.
In other words, the Batman's series in the 60s.
Exactly.
So,
The hero and the villain have to be portrayed completely seriously, or it all becomes comic. It all becomes ridiculous. The book of Revelation portrays its villains and its heroes completely seriously. With one exception, there will be times they make fun of the villains. Okay. If you think this is strange, right? This is a very old-fashioned story. When John Williams was approached to write the score for the original Star Wars movie, he was told it's going to be a very old-fashioned movie. Good guys, bad guys, princess in distress. There's no question who the villains are. They look like villains. And as strange as Chewie looks, you can look at him and go, yeah, but he's one of us. Right? Remember the Matrix? An alternate reality that you can't see, that is the real reality. That's very, very much so out of the book of Revelation. That the real reality underlies what we're able to see. Saga. Enemies over generations, right? Little heroes that no one would suspect, right? Big villains. Look at this. This is cool. This is cool. Graphic art. That's kind of getting at it. This is a medieval portrayal. They got it in ways that we don't. We're all products of Descartes. We all think you have to take everything as data and fact. They were able to think in metaphor and images. You need to think in images as you read the book of Revelation. This is from Chartres, the cathedral at Chartres. There's the beast up in the stained glass, the great rose window. That's the pale horse, right? The pale rider. That's the window, the rose window. Rose windows in the great cathedrals have one of two themes, one of which is the book of Revelation. And the center rondelle, you see that circle at the center, it's called a rondelle, has Jesus enthroned among the lampstands. That's where we'll turn our attention for next week. But I want us to hear this quote. This is from a marvelous book called The Apocalyptic Imagination by John Collins. That this literature, meaning apocalyptic literature, provides a rather clear example of language that is expressive rather than referential, symbolic rather than factual. It's supposed to make you feel something. It's not supposed to help you predict something. Next week, we turn to the center of the picture. Jesus enthroned among the lampstands. And we'll also talk about the genre of apocalyptic literature and how understanding that genre will help us understand the book. Cool. Yes, ma'am.
All right, now this is just me, how to think about the book of Revelation, and with all the things we've gone through, I really have never thought about Revelations as anything like this. So this is where we're headed to find out why we just did this.
Exactly.
Okay, I mean.
It's a graphic novel. It's a graphic novel with big splash pages and Jesus at the center.
Okay.
And what you said, this is, and what I read in the study guide too, this is a work of art and poetry. And
Yes.
so to get you out of your head and into your heart of
Yes,
feeling.
absolutely.
Some
To make
people, it's very hard to get out of their head.
Yes.
We're indoctrinated in school to think, and there's not as much study of feeling and art and expression.
Yeah.
I don't think.
No, I agree. Agree. But
What
we
was the
will endeavor to do that. To do what John wants us to do. All righty.
What was the name of
Run
the
along.
church?
I'm sorry?
What was the name of the church where that rose window is?
Chartres, CHARTRES.
Oh, okay.
It's Notre Dame de Chartres in Chartres, France. It
Thank
is one of the great, truly the great Gothic cathedrals. And that window, we will visit that window frequently. So, thank y'all. Have
Mary
a great
Elizabeth,
week.
Already?
wait, Mary Elizabeth.
Yes, ma'am.
Before you cut off,
Yes, ma'am.
and I know most in the class know what I've been through, and I want to thank you all for your prayers. And I have not come out on the other side yet, but I'm working very hard toward it. We had the memorial service for my husband yesterday, and I'm going to send some of the brochures to Kathy so she can share them with you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Helena, you remain in our prayers very much.
This is the hardest thing he's ever put on me, but I'm going to make it. I am.
There are a lot of people to help you carry the burden.
That's right, don't forget.
Thank you all.
Peace.
Peace.
Love. Hugs. Big hugs. Yeah. Mm.